Okay, so we can get started. A lot of people cannot make it today. The reason is today is Gita Jayanthi. So I thought I would talk a little bit about Gita Jayanthi itself and a little bit about Gita, and we can discuss any topic you wanted to discuss, any questions or anything like that. Even Anu could not be there, otherwise we could have had some chanting. So very interestingly, this particular day, which is known as Vaikunta Ekadashi, is considered as the birth date of Bhagavad Gita. So when I say the Gita Jayanthi, conventionally Jayanthi means that is the time something was born. In other words, it implies that it was not there before that particular day. But in the case of Gita, first of all, that is not true. Because this teaching was there from time immemorial. We saw that in chapter 4. So what does that mean by Gita Jayanti then? So Gita Jayanti means that this is the day Lord Krishna, it is believed that this particular day, Lord Krishna spoke these words of wisdom to Arjuna. So that is what it means. So today probably we will just talk about a little bit background about Gita, and we will just talk about Gita Dhyana Shloka, which are a few verses in praise of the Gita. So as you know, Gita, the literal word meaning of Gita means it's a Gitam. Gitam means it's a song, which is qualified by a prefix Bhagavat. Bhagavat means, if you use two particular way of interpreting it, one way of interpreting it is song of the Bhagavan. So a body of knowledge given by Bhagavan, or the Ishvara of the universe. Ishvara means the intelligent order of the universe. As a user manual for a better life, healthy life, happy life, and a spiritual life, contented life. So this is one way of looking at Bhagavad Gita. And the second way of looking at Bhagavad Gita is a song whose subject matter is Bhagavan. First one is a song given out by Bhagavan. Second meaning is a song whose subject matter is Bhagavan. So a song whose subject matter is about the universal intelligence. It is about the intelligent order of the universe, by knowing which you can conform to that law. Again, that is for a healthy, happy, contented life. So both meanings are equally applicable. This is the first point. The second point about Bhagavad Gita is, if somebody asks you, what is the foundational scripture of Sanatana Dharma, so-called Hinduism? Anybody? Today we can be very interactive. What is the foundational textbook of Sanatana Dharma? Anybody?
Vedanta?
Vedas.
Yeah, Vedas. Right.
So Veda is, the meaning of the Veda is literally to know. It came from the root with means to know. And it is believed that these Vedas are not the product of a human intellect. It is some knowledge that got revealed to the ancient seers of the past, known as rishis. The literal meaning of the word rishis means seers, the one who discovered a mantra. For example, the famous Gayatri mantra was discovered by sage Vishwamitra. That doesn't mean that Vishwamitra created it. This mantra, in his deep meditation, got revealed to him. So all the information revealed to various rishis in the past, they together form the body of knowledge called Veda. Some of these Vedas are in the form of a poetry. Some of them are in the form of a prose. Some of them are in the prose form of a song. But these Vedas means it is the sum total of the discoveries made by multiple sages. A simple example is if you really look at physics. When you look at the body of knowledge, physics, it is the sum total of all the discoveries done by various scientists in the past. You cannot say that Newton is the founder of physics. Newton only was a contributor. So is Einstein. Everybody is like that. The Vedas are exactly like that. So Vedas are the compilation of the knowledge discovered by all these sages. And each of these Vedas, one portion, there are in fact 4 portions of every Vedas. So some portion of these Vedas talks about mantras, like the prayers. Then there is another portion of the Veda, how these mantras can be used in rituals. That is the second categories of the subject matter of the Veda. And the third thing is how these mantras can be used in meditation. That is the third one. The fourth one is, the fourth portion of the Veda is the knowledge about the absolute reality. Now, when these Vedas got revealed, it was Vishwamitra had a portion, Vasishta has a portion. So these teachings were handed over from generation to generation. It was not properly compiled. And finally, one saint came and he compiled all the teachings of these Vedas and formulated into 4 body of knowledge. All the poetry related compilations were compiled into a Veda called Rig Veda. All the prose were compiled into another portion, which is called Yajur Veda. All the poetry were compiled into another Veda called Sama Veda. And finally, a mixture of all these put together to form the Atharva Veda. And each of these Vedas has 4 portions. One is called Samhita or the mantra. Second one is called, the mantra, Samhita, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. Brahmana and Upanishad. So the first portion is the mantra portion. The second portion is how it can be used with the rituals. And the third thing is it can be used with like meditation. And the fourth one is the teachings of the absolute reality. So this is the Vedas. And this is considered as the foundational textbook or the fundamental textbook or the authority of the Sanatana Dharma. But there is a problem here. Suppose somebody wants to study a Veda, it is going to take at least 12 years. And it is very complicated. It's not easy for an ordinary human being to go and study the Vedas. It contains a lot of symbolism, etc. Another challenge with the Vedas was, see, these Vedas were compiled in quiet places where the life is completely follows a different style. Maybe in Uttarakashi, maybe in Gangotri, that type of places. So the tough situation of the life were absent in those places. So there was a misinterpretation. The misinterpretation was these teachings are useful only after retirement, or these teachings cannot be directly applicable to the normal day-to-day human being. That's why after compiling the Vedas, Maharshi Vyasa felt this application of the truth called Dharma. Dharma we already talked about many times. What is Dharma? Dharma is the universal order, the order of the natural order of the universe. Conformance to this Dharma is the ultimate upasana everybody has to do. For example, I need to conform to the dharma of the body for me to keep my body healthy, happy, and contented. I need to follow the dharma of the mind to have a healthy mind. So this awareness and conformance to dharma can lead me to a healthy, happy, contented life, and non-conformance to dharma can create problems in my life. This he wanted to illustrate through the life of some people. So there was a historic event happened in ancient India, which is known as the Mahabharata war, a civil war that took place in the ancient India. So Vyasa took that civil war, that story, and he used that story to communicate Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha, that message. So this story, when he compiled as Mahabharata, it became an epic of the largest size in the universe. So this Mahabharata has 100,000 verses, to be precise, around 90,000+ verses. 90,000 verses or 100,000 verses. It's impossible for me to read and study. I try to read Mahabharata. Every day I try to read 2 slokas. So then I realized it's impossible. 1 year, I can cover 700 verses. In that pace, for me to cover the entire Mahabharata, how many years it is going to take? 1 year, 700. 10 years, 7,000. Right? 10 years, 7,000 verses. In that pace, if I continue for 100 years, I can cover only 70,000 verses. So that much big is the scope of Mahabharata. This Mahabharata touches almost every subject in the world. It's such a magnitude. The magnitude is so big, lengthwise, breadthwise. So in this Mahabharata, there is one chapter called Bhishma Parva. So this section means I would not say chapter, I would say section. One section called Bhishma Parva. And this Bhishma Parva, 25th to 42nd chapter is the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is part of the ancient epic Mahabharata. And this Bhagavad Gita was compiled by Maharshi Vyasa, and he placed it in the middle of the Mahabharata. This teaching, the background of this teaching is not a quiet Himalayan valley. It is one person is taken as a prototype of a human being, that is Arjuna. So this Arjuna, who represents a simple, normal human being, when the situations of the life became challenging, when the situation of the life became complicated, you find this person who is extremely skilled, who can face any situation because he has that skill. You see that person becoming perplexed in front of the life situation. What happened? Instead of being a master of the situation, he became a victim of the situation. So to those people who find it difficult to face their life, who find it means the situation is getting over them, to such people, this teaching was given by Bhagavan Krishna. And that compilation is known as Bhagavad Gita, which was faithfully compiled and recorded by Maharshi Vyasa. This Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses and it has 18 chapters. And the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is a context or a case history of Arjuna. Arjuna is nothing but a prototype of a human being. And then second chapter is a summary of the entire teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 3 to chapter 17 is the elaboration of the topic given in the second chapter. And then 18 is a recap of that teaching. So this is the structure of the Bhagavad Gita. And the two key subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita is Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya means it is the teaching about Brahman. It is the teaching about who you are, what you are. That is the teaching, right? It talks about who you are and what you are. It tells you that you are not the body, mind, sense complex. Instead, you are the consciousness which elements the body, mind, sense complex. My current self-identity is that I am the body, mind, sense complex. So it helps you to separate yourself through a very systematic teaching and re-establish your true identity, who you are, and it reaffirms that the body, mind, sense complex are instruments, gadgets, or tools provided to you to interact with the world outside. And once you establish in that truth, you will be able to take care of the situation in front of you easily. This will put an end to all the suffering. It is like a dream. You are suffering. Suddenly, if the dream becomes a lucid dream, you know that it's a dream. All the sufferings of the dream will vanish because you are already assured your continuity of existence beyond this dream space and dream time. That is going to give you the necessary courage and confidence. Like that, the ultimate solution for all the human suffering is the knowledge about your true identity. So that is Brahma Vidya. But that's not good enough. One is currently I am in this relative world, constrained by the time and space. How do I get established in that true identity? And while I get to know about myself, what is the efficient way for me to face the challenges of life? So you need to be given a lifestyle which helps you to live an efficient and intelligent and rewarding life here. At the same time, that lifestyle should lead you to the highest possibilities of life. So that is what the second subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita covers, which is known as Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra, it's a lifestyle given by Krishna for us to follow. And that lifestyle is going to make you less stressed, more efficient, be in flow often, and ultimately that lifestyle is going to take you to the highest possibilities of life, which is moksha. So Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavan's song, or it can be considered as a song about Bhagavan. Knowing the Bhagavad Gita is going to lead me to the highest possibilities of life and also lead an efficient life here. This is a compilation or the summarization of the entire Vedic teaching in a simple form and in a context which can be more related to us rather than essayed. So this is a brief introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. And today, being the Gita Jayanthi, we can talk a little bit about the meditation verses on Gita, right? So before we study the conventional study, start the conventional study of the Gita, usually we chant a few verses known as Gita Dhyanam, Gita Dhyanam word. So these are some meditation verses on Gita, which is going to give you a brief idea about the Gita. So I'll talk a little bit about these meditation verses. And if anybody can chant, it is good. We can listen to that verses. So the first verse of the meditation of the Gita, it talks about Bhagavad Gita itself. It tells, Om Parthaya Pradipodidam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratidam Purana Muninam Matye Mahabharatam Advaita Amrita Varshini Bhagavati Ashtadashathyayani Amba Tuam Anusantadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadvishni. In one stroke, the teacher is painting the picture of the entire Gita. So before that, who compiled these meditation verses? Anybody knows who compiled these meditation verses on Gita? Any idea?
Was it again Vyasji?
No.
Bhishma.
No. It's much later. So
it is not part of Gita, but it is not part of Gita then? Like it
no,
is
it is not.
Oh.
So Gita,
Madhusudana Saraswati.
yeah, that is the popular belief. So let's talk about that a little bit. So I talked about Mahabharata, right? So Gita was part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, chapter 25 to 42 is Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't have any dhyana sloka. It doesn't have any name of the chapter. For example, there is nothing in the Bhishma Parva which is going to say that this is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It just talks about the chapter. That's it. Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. All those things were added later. So this Gita was part of this mighty epic Mahabharata. And it was unknown to a lot of people. Right? It was completely unknown to a lot of people. How somebody can find this treasure in that 100,000 verses? That's where the glory of Shankaracharya comes in. It was Shankaracharya who took these 18 chapters and wrote a brilliant commentary. And that, from there onwards, the Gita started popular. So the Gita, in fact, the popularity of the Gita started growing after Shankaracharya. So that's just a word of course. And then a lot of people started commentaries on Gita. A lot of people like Ramanuja, Madhavacharya, Abhinavagupta, Sridhara Swami, Madhusudana Saraswati. So many people started writing commentaries on Gita. And we don't know honestly who wrote the Gita Dhyana Shloka, but the popular belief is that it is Madhusudana Saraswati. Some people believe that it is Sridhara Swami, but it doesn't matter. One thing is that our people, right, these true masters, they don't care to stamp their name on what they write. So usually that's where we lose track of who wrote what. So
Rajesh?
Yes, Rohitji.
Question. So who actually took Gita chapters and called it Bhagavad Gita? Was it Vyasa who took it out of the Mahabharata?
No, actually it is later. Probably who called it Gita? It is called Gita because of it is a song of Bhagavan. So the later point of time, some commentators called it Gita also. So in fact,
was it not Shankaracharya, Rajuji?
It could be Shankaracharya. It could most probably it could be Shankaracharya. But there is a school that. So since you asked this detailed question, let me answer you, right? So before Shankara also there were a few commentaries on Gita. So we don't know. Most probably it could be Shankaracharya. Because the reason why I said is that Shankara in his commentary tells that I am taking this and writing a commentary because it is truly worth it. And second thing is that some of the commentaries exist that is not giving me the clarity. That is why I'm attempting to write it. So that's why it is said. It is complicated. But to Rohitji's point, Vyasa wrote it in the Mahabharata. That's it. And then Shankaracharya took it out, and then it started popularizing. And then Shankaracharya wrote a Bhashyam. And then the subsequent teachers of Shankara lineage, they wrote sub-commentaries. And then for example, like Anandagiri wrote a sub-commentary of Shankara's commentary. And then other people started writing sub-commentaries. So Gita is going like that.
I see. But the verses that we read in Gita are the original from the scriptures.
Absolutely. It is from Vyasa.
Yeah.
It is from Vyasa. So the verses, for example, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, from those are completely part of Mahabharata. But Parthaya Pradibodhidam, that is not part of Mahabharata. Clear?
So, Rajesh ji, one question. So basically, this Bhagavad Gita, even though it is, we hear it in Krishna's words, in his as he is the one who is preaching, it is originated from Vyasa. He is the one, like,
Yes.
Yeah. So it is
Krishna's
Vyasa's
words.
point of view.
Krishna's words was compiled by Vyasa.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it was.
again, again, if I remember right, you had said that 100,000 is really an outgrowth of a couple of people adding to it, right?
Yeah. So let me clarify that. Good point. So now the question is did Vyasa compile 100,000 verses? Answer is no. Who said that? Vyasa himself said that. But the first version has all these 700 verses of Gita. That nobody added that. So that's, for example, Bhagavad Gita, Anu Gita, those words, those were original Vyasa's words. Now, since Rohitji brought up that subject, so some people may be wondering, what is the evolution of Mahabharata? In 3 stages. The first version of Mahabharata is known as Jayam. Jayam, that is the first version of Mahabharata. It had around 8,500 verses. That is what is taught by Vyasa to Vaishampayana. Then what happens? The next stage is Vyasa and Vaishampayana go to Janamejaya. You know who is Janamejaya? Arjuna's son was Parikshit, and Parikshit's son is Janamejaya. It's story, Mahabharata, the beauty of Mahabharata is story after story after story, right? From one story, it goes to another story, it goes to another story. So the story of Parikshit is, he was bitten by a snake called Takshaka. You know that story, right? In 7 days, he means he died. So it means just a tangent there. So in that 7 days, he wanted to get closer to God or spend his time in devotion. So he asked Vyasa's son, Shuka Maharshi, what is that? Give me that knowledge. Shuka Maharshi said, in 7 days, what you can do is study Bhagavatam. So that is the time this Bhagavatam literature was taught by Shuka Maharshi to Parikshit. Nice. Then what happens is, so this Parikshit was bitten by Takshaka and he died. By the way, this is not the usual class, right? We don't usually spend on these stories, but today is the Gita Jayanthi. So let's go through the Puranas. So Takshaka Parikshit was bitten by Takshaka. So his son got really angry. He said, I'm going to destroy all these snakes. So he started a yajna or a ritual, Sarpa Satram. So all his goal was to kill Takshaka. So in that yajna, right, Vyasa means eventually somebody comes and block it because there is no point in killing snakes. So many say Astika, a sage came and block it. So that's a further story. The whole Mahabharata starts with this story. So to that Janamejaya's Sarpa Satra, so he invited all the sages, saints, and started spiritual discourse. At that point of time, Vyasa and Vaishampayana is the disciple of Vyasa, comes over there. And Janamejaya asked Vyasa, can you tell me the story of Mahabharata? Because it is the story of my ancestors. So Vyasa then asked Vaishampayana to narrate the Jaya he taught him. So Vaishampayana narrates this story, which is the Jaya, to Janamejaya. So when Vaishampayana narrated, this 8,500 verses became 24,000. And that compilation or that transformation of Jayam to 24,000 verses is known as Bharatam. Bharatam. And then what happened? One sage was there. His name is Suta or Ugrashavas. Suta, that is the name of the sage. So this sage studied these 24,000 verses from Vaishampayana. And then after some time, this sage was visiting a place called Naimisharanya, some place near Nagpur, right? So that place, a lot of sages were getting together, and under the leadership of another sage called Shaunaka, and they were doing this ritual, big ritual. To that place, this Suta comes, and Shaunaka asked Suta, I heard that you learned this Bharatam. Can you tell me? This is how the Mahabharata opens. If you read the Adi Parva of Mahabharata, this is what the first chapter. The sages come to Naimisharanya and Suta comes there, and Suta starts narrating this Bharatam, which he learned from Vaishampayana. So when Suta started narrating this, these 24,000 verses became 90,000 verses. So Bharatam turned into Mahabharata. So from Jayam, it went to Bharatam, and Bharatam went to Mahabharata. So now, coming back. So Madhusudana Saraswati or Sridhara Swami wrote these meditation verses on Gita. So the first verse talks about Gita itself. So this Madhusudana Saraswati says that he compares Gita like a mother. Amba, Tvam Anusandadami. I meditate continuously upon thee, or I take refuge in me, in you, in thee. What is the characteristics of the mother? She takes care of her child. Most compassionate, take care of, just like a mother takes care of a child. If you surrender to Gita, it will take care of you. How? What that means? Then he tells what kind of mother is Gita. Who gave that teaching? He tells Narayanena Swayam, by the Bhagavan Narayana himself. The Lord himself gave the teachings of the Gita. For what? Parthaya Pradibodhidam. Partha, means the literal translation is Arjuna. Partha means son of Pritha. Pritha means Kunti. Son of Pritha is known as Partha. So that is one meaning. And a larger, deeper meaning is Prithvi means earth. So son of earth, any human being. So to uplift humanity, Bhagavan himself gave this teaching. Parthaya Pradibodhidam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam. So this teaching was given by Swayam Narayana, the God himself, to lift humanity. Then Vyasena Grathitam, faithfully compiled by sage Vyasa. Purana Munina, who is Vyasa? Ancient sage. So this sage Vyasa compiled it faithfully, and Vyasena Grathitam Purana Muninam Mathye Mahabharatam. He placed that in the middle of Mahabharata. That's it. So Radhika, your question is answered by the first verse of Gita Dhyana itself.
Yeah, it looks like it evolved, right, Rajesh? Like, as you said, it started with Vyasa, but then towards the end, that 100,000, whatever verses you said, it was in a combination of everybody's preachings,
But
right?
Gita,
Put together.
Gita, it is said that it is Vyasa's verse. Vaishampayana didn't add anything. So there are multiple Gitas in Mahabharata. There is an Anu Gita. Anu Gita means, you know the story. That's another funny story. After the Mahabharata war, Arjuna asked Krishna, can you repeat what you said in the war front? Krishna said, I can try, but I won't have that much of inspiration. I won't be in that flow. So he tried to repeat that. That is what is Anu Gita. Anu means that which follows. So that Gita which follows the Bhagavad Gita is Anu Gita. And that is nowhere near Bhagavad Gita. So even Lord needs an inspiration. In that moment, it just flows through him. That is just a joke. So this Gitas, Anu Gitas, Bhagavad Gita, everything was faithfully produced. And you can see, right, even when the Mahabharata got from Vyasa to Vaishampayana to Suta, not much distortion happened. Some Puranas, definitely you can say that Purana got distorted. For example, Brahma Purana. Brahma Purana, you talk about the Konark Surya temple, which came in 13th century. That is definitely not Vyasa's. So a lot of things got added. But in Mahabharata, it's only elaboration, because these were faithfully trained sages who could just add a little bit more details, nothing more than that. So that is really good. Mahabharata, nobody can break even now, because it's such a brilliant compilation. Amazing, right? It talks about Mount Kailash. It talks about the Meru Parvata in Indonesia. It talks about Kandahar in Afghanistan. It talks about Sri Lanka. It talks about almost all parts of the India. Flora, fauna, exactly same. Kamarupa, Assam. You will see the exact Assamese description there. You will see Nagaland. How is it possible? I still wonder. It's impossible for a human intellect to conceive all these things. Imagine you're not living in an internet age where you can just go to somewhere and find out what is the climate or the situation of Assam. The maximum speed at that time is 35 kilometers per hour. Imagine. No communication system, nothing. And they're writing this on palm leaves. How is it possible? Unbelievable. So that is the first verse. So the second verse of the Dhyana Sloka. So the first verse is about Gita. Second verse is about Vyasa. Who is the compiler of the Gita? So beautifully written. So he tells, Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe, Bhullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra, Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna, Prajwalitu Jnanamaya Pratipa. Vyasa is addressed as one with Vishala Buddhi. Vishala Buddhi means vast intellect. If you ask me to pick two most intelligent people, I would pick Vyasa and Shankaracharya. That much intelligence is there. It is said that whatever you find in Mahabharata, you can find elsewhere. But you won't find a human situation which is not depicted in the Mahabharata elsewhere. All type of characters, all these different situations, different thinking, all these things were taught by Vyasa. Only a mighty intellect can do that. And what did he say, right? He lighted a lamp of knowledge using the oil of Mahabharata. What is the benefit of lamp? It removes darkness. Darkness symbolizes ignorance, and light symbolizes knowledge. So another beautiful verse. Then he tells, the third verse is again brilliant. Krishna. He tells, Prapanna parichadaya tvapravetraikapanaye jnanamudraya krishnaya Gita amrita duhe namaha. Who is the teacher? So first we talked about the Gita itself. Then he talks about the compiler of the Gita. Now he comes to the teacher of the Gita. Who is the teacher of the Gita? Lord Krishna. What is the nature of Lord Krishna? Prapanna parijataya. Those who surrender him. Surrender means not just going prostrate. Those who follows his teaching. He is like parijata. What is parijata? Anybody knows?
It's a flower, right?
Yeah, it's a flower in the heavens.
Yeah.
So whatever you ask these trees, you get it. So he can grant you with any type of experience. And then Krishna, two hand, what it is described. Totra vetra ekapanaye. In one hand, ekapani means one hand, is totra. What is totra? It is something that you use to control the horses, right? The instrument you use to control the horses. And then, yes. And on the other hand, how he keeps? Jnana mudra. This mudra. This mudra symbolizes something, right? This is your individual self. This is your Paramatma. That's it. Your body, mind, intellect. This is the individuality. This is the Paramatma. So Jnana Mudra symbolizes that the Jivatma and the Paramatma are one and the same. When the Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same, what happens? Your life becomes efficient. And this thumb, only human being can turn the thumb like this. And because of this, we get all the efficiency. It is said that the Britishers cut the thumb of all the weavers of Dhaka. Why? Because they didn't want to compete with the British cloth manufacturers. If you cut the thumb, your efficiency is gone. Even in Mahabharata, there is a sad story of Ekalavya. So this Jnana Mudra symbolizes a lot. And so Krishna, what is the characteristics? One hand, he has this instrument of action, and the other hand, he has the knowledge. So this represents the whole idea of Gita. Gita is a perfect blend of life and spirituality. Gita is not running away from life. And Gita is not being ignorant to the knowledge, spirituality. So with the knowledge you act, efficiently act. Without stress you act. That is what is symbolized in this verse. And then he goes to what exactly is the content of the Gita? He tells, Sarvopanishado Gavo, Doktha Gopala Nandanaha, Partho Vatsa, Sudhir Bhokta, Duktham Gitamridam Mahat. He tells, what exactly is this teaching? He tells, it is the essence of all the Upanishads. If the Upanishads can be considered as a cow, Arjuna can be considered as a calf. And Krishna is the milkman. So, when you get the milk, a calf is used to induce the cow. Of course, the calf is going to get its share. But is the whole milk is meant for calf? No, it is given to other people also. So that is what the symbolism here. Arjuna induces Krishna to give out this knowledge, but this knowledge is going to benefit anybody who consumes it. Look at the simile, how beautiful it is. And one more point I wanted to highlight. Let's say that you get the milk. It's a complete food. Now, you take the milk in front of you and you pray to the milk. Oh, milk, save me. Is that going to help you? If you have to put flowers in front of the milk and prostrate in front of the milk, you gives us life, you gives us energy, nothing will happen. If you drink the milk and if you do not digest it, is that going to help you? For you to get benefited, you need to take the milk, you need to drink it, and it needs to digest. So the Gita's teachings, you need to learn, assimilate it, and it should be part of you. I'm just elaborating these dhyana slokas to show the depth of these verses. This is usually people chant and bypass, right? So that is what it is. So Sarvopanishado Gavo Doktha Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Duktam Gitamridam Mahad Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Sanjay, if I make a mistake, please tell me. I'm just repeating it from my memory. I was not planning to talk about this.
Waiting for you to give her green signal. She wants to chat the entire.
Absolutely. I really want that. Let me finish it. Let her chant it. Okay. So happy to have you for chanting. So I'll finish it in 5 minutes. So it tells Vasudeva Sudam Devam, Krishna's teaching. He is the son of Vasudeva and he destroyed all these demons. Demons means what? Negative tendencies in us. That's all. So Lord Krishna is usually considered as a destroyer of all the people. If there was a modern court, he would not have time to get out of the courts. He killed that many people. But it's all symbolism, right? So only thing I wanted to bring to your attention is when Krishna kills somebody, he kills with what? Sudarshanam. Sudarshanam means good vision, noble vision. So Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Jagadguru means he's a universal teacher. Meaning his teaching is applicable to all the people at the all, whether people like Krishna, whether people accept Krishna, it doesn't matter. His teaching is applicable to anybody and everybody. That's all it means. Then the next verse is a simile. It portrays the entire Mahabharata war like a big river with a lot of obstacles. And Krishna is compared like a boatman. It tells Bhishma Drona Tata, Jayadratha Jayla, Gandhara Nilolpala, Shalyagrahavati Kripana Vahini, Karnena Vela Kula, Ashwadhama Vikarna Kora Magara, Duryodhana Vartini, Sotirna Khalu Pandavai Rananadi, Kaivartaga Keshavaha. So Krishna is like a skillful boatman who can take us from one shore to the other. Without his help, the boat would have been sunk. Then he tells, Parasharya Vachas Saroja Mamalam, Gitartha Gandol Kadam, Nanakhyanaka Kesaram Harikada Sambotana Bodhitam, Loke Sajjana Shatpadair Haraha, Pepiyamanam Muda, Puyat Bharata Pankajam, Kalimala Pratham Sinashrayasi. Mahabharata, it talks about Mahabharata. Like the noble people are like honeybees, they will carry this nectar to all the people. Then again Krishna, Mukam Karoti Vajalam, Pankum Lankayate Girim, Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. it talks about the divine grace. Our literature talks a lot about the divine graces. If you surrender to God, that call will be answered. We will talk more about the 12th chapter, but see, God needs to be understood. And when you understand God, I'm just telling you, a little bit even understanding, it gives you that tremendous strength. It's not a blind faith you want. Only thing I'll ask you is, right? Typically, you see a lot of devotees. When situation goes a little bit in the other direction, they start questioning their belief. I've seen that a lot. But do you think in your worst case scenario, do you have doubt about 1 plus 1? What is 1 plus 1? Why? I understood it. So if you understand Ishvara like that, he will help Mooka to be eloquent, a dumb to be eloquent, and a lame to climb mountain. So understand that when all the door closes, there is one door. Everybody can leave you, but Ishvara won't leave you. I'll talk more about this later, but this is the thing. Then finally, the last verse is Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marudas Tonnandi Divyastavair Vedai Sanga Padakramopanishadair Dhyayantiyam Samaga Dhyanavastida Sadgadena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yogino Yasyandam Navidu Surasuragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So I meditate upon that one Ishvara. There is only one Ishvara. See, every Devas are phenomenal forces representing one aspect of Ishvara. From Brahma to a Nand, by whose grace everybody exists, right? All the prayers in the universe goes to whom? Who is realized by the sages in deep meditation. When you know yourself, you are knowing the Ishvara, right? Dhyanavastita sadgadena manasa yasyantiyam yoginaha. So yogis sees whom in deep meditation state. To that Lord, I salute. These are the 9 meditation verses on Gita. So on this Gita, the end of the day, I wanted to talk about this verse just to reiterate the glory of the Gita. Now we can listen to this Gita chanting or the Dhyana Shloka chanting from our very special guest.
Thank you.
Please tell your name to everybody and then please.
My name is Andre, and yeah. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Gita Dhyana Shlokaha Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Monina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadhashaadhyayiniim Ambhattvamanusandathami Bhagavat-gite bhavatveshiniim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pulladavindaya Tapatra Yena Tvaya Bharata Tela Punaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijatarya Totra Vetrekapanaya Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Mrtaduhe Namaha Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsachanuramarganam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Bhishmatdrona tata Jayatratha Gandharanilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Leelakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairanadi कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनावोधितं लोके सज्जनषट्पदैर्हरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशम् एकवर्णं शुभाङ्गं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिहृध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थितत्तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं व्यभिदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय कृष्णाय क्लिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदान्तवेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सुधीये भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् गीताशास्त्रमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णोः पदमवाप्नोति भयशोकार्तिवर्जितः एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा ॐ श्रीकृष्णाय परमात्मने नमः
Great job.
Beautiful.
Proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who taught you?
Does he read in Sanskrit, Sanjay, or?
Yeah, so she's learning from the same place where Anu